What have you got us under? I think you should have us as just chatting.
Okay.
Well,
But I can't
I'm.
hear you.
Can you not
Why
hear me?
not? Oh, because hold on. My thing is stupid, so give me a second. I apologize. Um.
A lot of stupid shit going down now.
Oh my god. Sorry. OBS is really stupid and not doing things right.
Hey, Chidal.
Here we go. How about now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Well, I bet our audience can hear you, but I can't. I'm gonna unmute Sky
Oh,
Stream.
really? Let me double check that
No,
it's not on
the
my side.
problem is that it's OBS being asinine. Um, it's fine.
Oh, no, it looks like good.
Yeah, it's all good. Sorry, we're futzing around, people. We're getting our.
It's been a very bad day. If you can hear me out there and the other people and
All
just
right, I
Dave
got it.
can't.
I
You
fixed
got
it.
me? Can
It's
you
all
hear me
good.
now? Okay.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good. I'm sorry about
Right,
that. It's been yeah, it's
Dave
been quite the
already
day.
blue screened my computer
I
by having
did
the gall to Skype me.
out of sheer spite. Um, I obliterated poor Gemma's computer. I was so angry.
All I
Um,
heard was Dave goes hi, and then poof, it just
bleh.
all shut down. That's the
All right.
effect you have on people, Dave.
Do you want to get yourself set up and we can
Yeah,
chat about the issues of the
yeah.
day?
The issues of today are grand, guys. Grand
We got some
issues.
good issues of the day.
You
What do I
might
know about
actually,
issues?
I might actually want people to prepare a notebook and pen
Tax
because
horsepower.
I
Yes,
seriously need
very
you to
strong.
make calls after I have this conversation with you all, like serious calls.
Um, to your local
To
European
your
Union
local,
representative.
to your like, no, to your local parent.
I'm a polar scientist.
Hi, bipolar. So, I had a fairly dramatic night. So I was most people know that I'm playing in the Final Fantasy 14 Mahjong tournament, right?
Yes, because you can.
Because I had next yes, and so I was sat down and I just kind of was logging on to get playing, and then my father calls me and he's like, Gemma, have you had a large sum of money from me deposited in your account? I was like, okay, and I can just check on my phone, so I check and yeah, he has deposited a large sum of money into my account. And I'm like, okay, what? And then he's like, okay, I'm on the phone to the bank. There's been some fraud, so he's helping me sort it. And I'm like, huh, this is weird. Anyway, so I don't know what kind of made me start to get anxious, but then I was like, Dad, did you call him or did he call you?
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, I'd say the first that first sentence would make me anxious because my parents would never deposit a large sum of
I,
money in my account.
I mean, on my
Um,
my initial reaction was my dad had made an error, and because when he said a
mm,
large sum of money, I was thinking maybe he transferred me £100 instead of to me instead of my brother. This is a common confusion with my parents that me and my brother,
are the
you
same,
can just
just
switch
one
it. Yeah,
entity.
yeah, exactly. My dad sometimes goes Ross at me, and I'm like, I'm not Ross. I'm the oldest one. Very female. My brother is very
Did they name
male.
your brother Ross before or after Friends? Please tell me it was before.
It's worse. He actually named them Ross because of Poldark.
Oh well, no, I'm gonna go for me as an American. That's better,
Okay.
but
Yeah. It's pretty embarrassing. I'm going to tell
okay,
you.
it's embarrassing for you. Okay, that's fair.
I'm
That's
just
fair.
lucky that I got away with not being called Demelza because that's what my mum probably wanted to call me, and my dad pulled the plug on that.
Are you
So
live? Are you live and in game? Is the stream on your thing? The live
it
stream?
is. It should be on. It should be live streaming. Yes.
Okay, you're on Odin. It's 6:17 p.m. I just want to make sure that I'm not showing an
Yes.
old. Okay,
Yes. No,
cool.
that's me.
Hooray!
I'll
I'm gonna
jump.
get a.
Yeah. So
Okay, now the
yeah. Anyway,
Twitch police won't be mad at
so
us.
yeah, so that was my initial, and then I was like, okay. Well, and when I checked the sum of money, I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. Like this is who sends that kind of money accidentally unless he'd like added some extra zeros.
Hmm.
So initially I wasn't kind of too concerned because he didn't sound very concerned. He sounded quite calm.
Okay.
And of course, I mean, the money's in my account. Like, why should I start
Right.
panicking?
Right. Right.
And then suddenly I'm like, and then they said, I'm on the phone to the bank and we're sorting it out. And I was like, did you call the bank? And he's like, I can't remember. And I'm like, did you call the bank? I can't remember. I'm like, okay, just hang up. Just hang up the phone. We'll call back. We're going to sort this out. Just call them back, but hang up the phone for now. Because I can hear this man on the end of the phone, whoever is speaking to my father, and he sounds urgent. He's quite insistent. And then my dad's like, okay, you need to transfer this money to another account. And I'm like, hell no, I'm not transferring money anywhere. You can go to hell.
Yeah. It's like I'm not touching anything at this point.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock in the fucking evening on a Friday. I don't care who has called you and told you to move money
Yeah,
anyway.
no one from. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not going to jump in. Go
Yeah, no. It's anyway, like, and so and anyone who's seen me very stressed and get very shouty, it's not a pretty sight, and I lose it. I'm like screaming at my father, put down the phone, put down the phone. And the man on the other end, he's getting more and more aggressive as well. Like, and he's saying things like, if you put down the phone, they're just going to steal more money from you, and and they're really escalating. And I know at this point I've realized what's happened, right? That he's on the phone, and these people are trying to steal his money. Initially, so anyway, finally got him off the phone, and he hangs up the phone, and then he calls the bank and alerts them that there has been fraud. And initially, it looks like it's okay because we initially suspected that they'd been laundering money through, but that wasn't the case. What they'd done is they'd emptied out my entire parents' savings into the current account, and then managed to move almost all of it out to payments, to debit card payments. And it's, yeah. And that's what I've been doing all day. I've been talking to the police. I've been talking to the banks. And you know what's the annoying? You know what? For me, it's like my worst fear come true. I've always been terrified that I will be scammed. And what I want everyone to do is I want you to talk to your parents and tell them that this happens. Like, this is a thing that is happening all the time. Because I bet you if I'd have told my dad, you need to be more careful, blah, 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 before any of this went down, he was like, oh, I won't get caught by a fraud. But, I've been talking that, and they're so upset. Both my parents were in tears when I go out this morning. Like, it's just so unbelievably clever. Like, you think, oh yeah, I wouldn't get caught by that. And maybe I probably wouldn't get caught by that. And in some ways, we're lucky that he tried to involve me in this fraud. He tried to involve my account in the fraud, that I was able to pull the plug, right? But there is something that I am also, vulnerable to that I have not realized, Like, they're obviously, their hope was that by getting my father to call me in a state of distress, I would then follow through with the instructions, right?
Right.
They knew so much about my family as well. They knew about his relationships with people. He knew that I was his daughter. They knew his address. They knew his card number. So, and this is the thing. Like, I said to him, like, how did they trick you into thinking that they were the bank? They knew the last 4 digits of the card number, and they gave them to me. It's like, oh, is this your card? And read, I'm only going to read out the last 4 digits for security, right? And they give out the last 4 digits, and then they're like, okay. And this was the interesting thing. This is obvious psychological trick now as I say it out loud. But what they did was they said, okay, we are going to have to verify you. You are going to have to clear our security, right? So at that point, you're not thinking anymore that this person has to validate themselves to you.
Right.
You have to identify yourself to them, right? So then he's like, and of course they ask the security questions that you would expect to be heard from any bank call, right? They like give your I don't know what they do in America, give your postcode, give this, give that, whatever. Yeah. And so they asked that, and of course, whatever he said, I mean, they probably knew, but whatever he said, they probably said, yes, you passed the security, congratulations, whatever bullshit they said. And it's funny because I then, I've now had all my bank accounts frozen as well because, obviously my accounts are all compromised as well. But, I was speaking to the bank and I was like, well, okay, all my accounts compromised, all of my accounts are frozen because I don't want anyone to be making any payments out. And they're like, yes, if you need to make a payment or anything needs to be approved, we will call you and approve that with you verbally. And I was like, wait a second, I have just told you what sort of scam has happened. And they're like, okay, but you'll know it's us because we'll take you through some security questions. All right.
He's like, what?
Fucking hell, are you kidding me? That's exactly how they're,
yeah, how do I verify you? That's what needs to happen. Yeah. I need to verify that you are real.
Precisely. I feel almost sorry for all of the customer service representatives I had to speak to today because I was not in a mood. Yeah, and I still don't actually know what could have been done to stop it, and I find that really upsetting. That I think if someone had called me saying they're my bank and taking me for security, or what was believably security, I might have done the exact same thing.
It is interesting. It's interesting. It's also terrible, but it's interesting. Like, what do you do about that? How do you I'm trying to think of what we do here.
I I mean, psychologically, I think I'm in. Now I'm going to take the stance that you have to prove yourself to me. I'm just
Yeah.
going to hang up the phone and I will call the number on the back of my card.
Yeah, I
I don't
mean,
care how nice the person is.
for any kind of money transfer. So I've done a bunch of money transferring in the past for all
Mm.
WRC stuff, and even years ago for that. It was always factored through the phone. So like
Yeah.
if I was on the website trying to transfer money to anyone, they would send a code to my phone that I then had to cycle back to them.
Yeah.
But it was all through their website also, which is pretty much no one can really fake that. And that it was very aggressive
Yes.
about that.
But we think that the fraudster was on the website and doing this
Yes.
site, and going through the system and sending the codes to my phone, codes to my dad's phone. He was then reading them out to him.
Yes. Yes.
And the man was saying like, "Oh, we need to verify your identity. I've just sent you a code. Can you please read that out to me?"
That's interesting because
And the
every
code.
Mhm.
Go on. So yeah, you go.
Oh, I was saying every time I get a code from my bank in the text message, and this is another interesting thing, it says specifically, no Bank of America representative will ever ask you for this code. If anyone is asking you for this code, this is fraud.
Yeah. So, and this is where I started
Now
getting
you know my bank.
generally pissed off with the system, was that wasn't included in any of those text messages.
Mm,
That was not included. Do not give this code to anyone. That was not included in any of the text messages. Further, so the way they formatted the text message, the very first line is the code.
right.
It just says, your bank's code, 6-digit number, and then the next few lines say this is to authorize a payment of what to so and so. Right now, that's all well and good. However, he read it on the drop down, didn't he? Because
Yep.
he's on the phone.
Yep.
To the man, he just glances at it, reads out the thing, and puts it back to. And how is this how they formatted? The format should be
No, it's deliberate.
authorization payment code.
It's deliberate because some. First of all, this is a sick hand. I'm sorry. I don't want to completely neglect Mahjong. It
No,
looks
I
like
know, I know.
we got a pretty good hand here, but because
It's
some
anger and mahjong.
some user interface designer who was not thinking about the security aspects of this code realized, oh, it's a two-factor code. Wouldn't it be convenient if you could just see it pop up and you didn't have to go all the way to your messaging app and tab out of our app and do all this stuff? It's so much better design. And then the bank, to be fair to that user interface designer, they might have been doing it for something far less serious, that original design of the two-factor system. If I had to do that
Yes.
for my friggin' Reddit account or something, like, all right.
Yeah.
And then someone
To log
grabbed
into
that.
Discord or something.
Yeah. Someone grabbed that concept off the shelf and didn't think about the security implications of not forcing you to actually read the message. And all of a sudden, now you're in a situation where it pops up, your code's 2345. It's like, all right, 2345, done. And the rest of the message is, oh, by the way, this is a big fucking problem and you need to pay attention to this.
I are. And again, this is what scared me because for sure I get those messages. They're all done red on my phone because I just glance at them in the pop up, right?
Yeah.
And the notification.
The two
And
is
then
safe. I would throw the two.
yeah. I'm folding this now.
Oh, really?
Um,
I'd push it. I'd push the heck. Oh, no.
No, I think I'm moving towards the push, but yeah. So, and also I don't know if the same happens in America, but actually on my iPhone, if my bank sends a code, my phone will autofill it in for me.
I think
It will read the code in the text message and then offer that to me as a. Do you want to add this here?
that.
So I might never read the message.
In my experience,
don't.
that actually. Oh my god. The forfeit. Yeah, this is beautiful, and it would be really great to make it happen. Oh. In my experience, I think that happens for some apps and not for others. Like apps that are less critical,
It
I've
does
seen
for
do
my
that.
banking though.
Wow.
It does for my banking. I know.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure my bank app does not do that. Or if it does, they have multiple levels of code. I think they have like a very they have a very basic code of like, oh, is this your phone? Are you reachable here? And they'll fill that in. But I know that's separate from the codes they'll do for transaction authorization.
No, they read my iPhone just says, "Do you want to add this code?" It recognizes that a text message second, and it's like, and again, you know what? I'm terrified. I really oh my god, it could have been me. I'm definitely. I do not read any of those two-factor message authorization messages at all.
Oh, I do. If it had to do with my bank, I would be all over that. Like No one should be. I mean,
I
then
guess
again,
the
I
thing
spent
is,
years working in security, so I know what all these systems are and how they work and what they're trying to do.
yeah, I know, but because the UI is like, oh, you want that number? The number is here on the drop down, nice and convenient for you. So you don't
Mm.
even have to click out of the website. Because I'm doing it on my phone, right? It just drags it down. I'm like, oh, good, great, I can do it now. You know?
I think the general assumption
Um,
with that is if I initiated something on my phone, then you have cycled the code to my phone, and then it's kind of okay that it goes in automatically because the only thing it can do is authorize something I'm doing on my phone. So unless there's someone standing there holding me at
yeah.
gunpoint, making me do something on my phone that's bad,
Mm.
autofilling the code probably won't harm me, I think is the idea.
No, but even then, like, if even if it's not autofill, I read the codes on the drop down when I'm
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
banking and stuff. I don't click into them, but
yeah.
I will click into them now, and you should all click into them now
Yes.
because so I'm now going to have to wage a angry war at whoever designs these
I
these
mean,
two-factor authentications.
the big thing to remember is those codes are always only for you. They
Yeah.
should never be given. Anyone who asks you for a two-factor code, any human being who
Mm.
asks you for a two-factor code is doing something wrong. They're either
Yeah.
dumb or they're trying to steal from you. Or maybe both.
Yeah, but you know what? That's easy for us to say
Well,
at
after
our age.
yeah, oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
I'm just
because we're not. Yeah, because and again, and this is really tragic. In the end, I called the police and I was like, look, I need my dad assessed as a vulnerable person here because, he's fallen for this scam. When I said that, both my they'd never even heard of these scams.
that's nuts to me. That part is nuts
No,
to me. I
I
mean, having someone come at you sounding like they're from the bank, taking you like it sounds like it was a pretty sophisticated script. I'm here in America, I'm very used to these incredibly unsophisticated robocalls that have been going around where like you'll get
yeah,
a phone call, it'll be from they'll set it up so the phone call look like it's from your home area code, and then you'll get like literally that Microsoft voice thing being like,
yeah.
"Hello, this is Officer O'Malley from the IRS. You have a warrant out for your taxes." I'm just like, all right.
Sure. I said it's funny. I had a call literally on Wednesday, like that was it wasn't a robocall as such. It was definitely someone who had spoken out the message, and they were like, because it's around tax season, right? I only paid my tax bill about 10 days ago, and they're like, your tax payment has not been authorized. You need to call us with the details so that we can take your money, or we're going to send a policeman around your house to arrest you. I laughed and I was like, sure, I want to see the policeman.
Yeah, okay, yeah. We can hang out. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Wish Maniac.
I'll keep the door unlocked, just let yourself in. It's fine. I'll have a cup of tea ready for you. Let's talk about my taxes. But you know what? I was in the right frame of mind. I've had ones where
On your door.
they've sent a message and I was half. I've had the ones which have really almost caught me out are like text messages where we have TV license here and they say your TV license payment has bounced. You need to fix it. And it doesn't sound urgent, right? And it's just got a link to make sure you make the payment. And in a distracted moment, I've almost clicked, And I was lucky that time because someone distracted me with something else, Maybe I got a message from you or someone said hello to me. And I was like, and then I looked back down and I was like, oh, wait a second. And that's all it takes sometimes is to have that 10 seconds just to look away and think, oh, wait. Let your brain kind of click in because, these people, so he create the fraudster create this urgency,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
this,
part of the scam.
this fraudulent activity is
Create
happening
urgency,
now.
yeah.
It's happening now, yeah. And it was nice to my father. He made my father feel like he was going to fix this problem and that they were in this together and that they were working to stop the fraud.
Another really important thing to know in general is that banks are slow as shit. Like, no, there is no urgency to anything a bank does ever. There is no urgency. Anyone who tries to create a sense of urgency around a banking transaction has obviously never worked in the financial industry because.
And also, I've realised there's no urgency, having had to try and alert their fraud team to this fraud, because I called them. My dad called them immediately, and then I got into close and I ran up to. I broke the COVID law, guys. I did enter someone else's house, but I was. At that point I was like, do you know what? If someone calls the fucking police on me to give me a fucking COVID fine, I'll get that crime reference number a hell of a lot quicker. Anyway,
That's true.
So yeah, exactly. I was like, the police is exactly who I want to see. I'll give them the £100 fine. Screw it. Anyway, so I did break the regulations, but both my parents and myself have been isolating this entire time, so fuck that shit. Anyway, so I go up there and he tells me and they've frozen their bank account. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to call them and just go through this with them. tell them that, you're in a very vulnerable position. We need to make sure this is, and, they're like, oh, well, our fraud team isn't at work until 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. I'm like, what? Like, you don't have a 24/7 fraud. Because the payments that had been tried, this fraudster had been making, were actually still pending. They hadn't actually left the bank.
Oh,
right?
yeah, what?
I know. And I was like, can you just stop these payments? We've alerted you within, honestly, 15 minutes of these payments being trying to be made. You need to stop these payments. And then they're waffling on about, we're going to try our best, blah, 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 blah. So,
Hey, nice.
I've got to take them at their word. I know. I've got to take them at their word at some point, right?
Open Foodora. Flip. Yes. Nice.
So anyway, they tell me, you need to call the fraud team though, and they're going to be there 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll get up in the morning. I'm going to run to my parents, and we're going to call the fraud team together.
Oh my god, I would have been so livid. I think first of all, I do think actually my bank does have a 24-hour fraud line. I don't know. I feel like we've had some really aggressive enforcement things about this here in America that have left us with better tools, maybe? I don't know. I haven't had to deal with something like this directly. I definitely feel like had I been on that phone call, I would have been like, well, maybe it's a good thing your fraud team's not here because I know lawyers are still open now and newspapers are still open now, so I've got some people to call. So, I can call the one or I can call the other, but what are we doing here? Like.
Well, I mean, I was as aggressive as, I did think about that. But it's a difficult one where, how quick do I escalate this, and how is that going to lose me, this person who's handling my case?
Immediately. I know, I would have gone as far. I just, again, if these transactions are not cleared yet, the last thing I want...
I mean, I guess they know that no lawyers or newspapers are open at Friday night in the UK either.
Oh, I was going to here for sure. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, the lawyers, I know they're 24/7 in America, but for me, that would be an empty promise I could not come through on. We couldn't even get through to the police, to be honest, because it's Friday night, right? They're dealing with drunks and drug addicts,
must sue. Call.
Yeah, so, and at this point, it was 1 a.m, and I'm like, okay, we're going to call at 8 a.m, we'll get through to the fraud squad. And they said, it's okay, we've put marks that these payments were fraudulent.
Okay.
So, I'm like, okay, well, they're not going to go through then. Anyway, I get there in the morning. The money is still in the account, right?
Okay.
And it's just that this money has been marked for pending transactions, right? And I call them, I'm like,
okay.
First of all, the fact I could see that meant they'd never frozen the accounts. And at this point, I lost my shit. I was like, are you kidding me? My family has been attacked by these fraudsters on the phone, and you allowed them to have the accounts open still. Like, what is wrong with you people? And then but the transactions are still pending, and I was like, you need to cancel these transactions. And they're like, oh, I'm afraid because they've been authorized. It's a guarantee, a direct debit it's a debit guarantee or something, Visa guarantee. Like, what? This doesn't make any sense to me.
You got real screwed by your banking system.
Yeah, well, luckily my brother turned up, and he is a little bit better at this kind of stuff than me.
I feel like I missed out on a real opportunity to yell at people on the phone. I feel sad about that.
Well, the problem is, and these people, they're actually, because it turns out the fraud team doesn't work on the weekend anyway. The fraud team doesn't turn up until Monday morning.
I want to look right now, what my options are. Like if I have, in terms of bank account, what are my, do I have better protection than you on that?
I mean, it might be because your payment system is slower. I mean, I always bitch about how slow the system is, but you might have something above us now.
Another key. Hold on. What do you do when your credit or debit card has been lost or stolen? You sign into online banking, you report it, and then you have a $0 liability guarantee for fraudulent transactions made by others using your credit cards and ATM cards. That's nice. So it's guaranteed that you won't be liable for any fraud.
Yeah, so I have that on my cards.
Yeah, but it's not cards.
Yeah. And
this is identity theft.
Yeah, basically, and it was the fact that immediately, the people at the bank, they're not actually authorized to make any decisions. They have to wait until the big shots come in on, and so they just go into, damage limitation mode, and they're saying things like, we need to check the liability, this. And I'm like, what? Like, you're saying this to me? Like, I was really agitated on the phone.
Don't tell me about your liability problems. These are your problems. These are not my problems.
I'm glad you have some sort of agreement with Visa, but this is what? Like, so, and then they just we can't recover this money for you. We have to go through the process, and I started feeling that these people were part of, like, I guess you get very paranoid, right? I was like, are these people part of the fraud? Like, have I actually called the bank?
Just completely through the
line
glass.
open? Yeah, it's kind of weird, the psychology you get into, and and so in the end we managed to freeze all the accounts, and then the policeman came, and the policeman was really good, and I explained what happened with the bank, and he was like, are you kidding me? I'm going to call the bank for you. I was like, ooh, nice, Mr. Policeman. I was like, oh, I can't remember what his name was. I'm like, oh, officer, thank you. And I'm not usually very nice to uniformed officers, I'm going to be honest with you. So he was super nice, and super caring to my dad, actually. So big thumbs up for the police this time.
Holy crap, this sounds also really good.
Yeah. Well, apart from the 8s over there have gone, and I'm waiting. The other side's the door.
You just need a 7 or 1.
So yeah, it's just, you're quite. I was kind of through the looking glass at that point, and I thought that everyone was trying to defraud me.
I don't blame you though. It's just nuts.
I'm still terrified, actually, that, I spoke to my bank, and they were saying, the next step is they are going to try and call you as your bank fraud team, and they're going to know the details, and they're going to try and make you transfer money, do something.
Don't accept like any incoming calls need to validate in some way that they're actually from the bank. Oh my god.
I mean, I barely pick up my phone anyway, so I've got one up on the fraudsters here, because it's quite difficult to get me to pick up a phone call as it is.
Yeah, South is pushing it, but this is a good place to be in. Reach Tanyao potential. Oh no.
Yeah.
But it's just Tanyao Dora, so it's not that bad, because they threw away all the other Dora because they don't care.
I mean, yeah, they were throwing Dora away, so I didn't think that they could have too big of a hand.
And they did not.
It's kind of strange that they didn't throw the. I guess they need. Yeah, okay. I would have kept that 5 and thrown a 3 and incorporated the 5 personally, but they won, so who am I to say anything?
So it seems my bank does have 20. Oh, hello everything. Hello Shanta. Hello all the Dora as your sweet revenge.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, you're gonna throw Dora? I'm gonna take those Dora.
Yeah, I'll take Dora. It's cool. First discard Dora. It's fine. Who needs to worry about that? Oh my god, this is
but sick. Actually, I if you'd have asked me, I would have thought we were more protected, right?
Yeah.
Than how I found out now, but because there's this kind of narrative that they were trying to build, that my father was negligent and that he should have known. How could he have known?
I mean,
how?
I would say to be litigious, as I often am. It is technically possible for him to have known. It is possible for him to have been more educated about scams and fraud attempts. It is possible that could have happened. But it is not, in my opinion, rational or reasonable to expect people to be educated to that level.
And I would say that I still get my banking stuff through the post, because I refuse to have them sent to me by email.
Why?
And
I'm curious.
And in doing this, I actually receive literature from the banks about scams, right? They've never received any literature about scams from the bank.
I might have thrown the North instead.
So they don't watch the news, they don't read the papers, so how would they know?
I mean, the problem is it's all gotten a lot more complicated, and it really depends on your environment. I do feel like from my bank, again, I as I mentioned earlier, you now all know it's a Dave hand. Rude. Kind, actually, but rude.
Hey, Becky.
Now you all know I'm with Bank of America. Bank of America is an enormous consumer bank, so whatever. My bank account number is 1234. It's not. But I get a lot of literature from them about fraud, but I think it's because the banks were made liable here to some degree for fraud. So suddenly, once it was their money that they were out, because people were seeing. I think it's because we don't do transfers out of accounts very often, if at all. A bank account transfer is a strange action for us. So all of our spending goes through cards, and it was very quick. And cards are much easier to steal You can grab the number, you can skim the card. There's so many things you can do. So I think there was a really aggressive pushback against card fraud, and now really the banks are liable. So they went apeshit trying to educate people and trying to make sure that we knew how to avoid card fraud. Yeah, see, I would have thrown the North.
You see, and Sherelle, thank you. Like, a mistake does not equal being negligent.
Exactly,
and that's the thing.
Exactly.
He made a mistake for 40 minutes. For having been a good customer for, I think, about 30 years, he has been a customer of that bank, and he has always protected his details.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Well, I would say it's like it's technically possible for him to have been more educated. That doesn't mean negligent. I'm not a nuclear physicist. I could be. Am I negligent for not being one? No, I'm just not.
And do you know what? Do you know one of the things that was asked that really offended me? They were like, "Has your dad been drinking?"
What?
I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like that's an excuse? You could just say he was drunk.
I mean, oh, I thought you were offended because you're British, so the answer is always yes, right?
Oh yeah, no. My
Do you
parents
think I'm
actually
neglecting my duties?
I was drunk after this. I became drunk shortly after this incident, but no, I was really like, what? And again, it's about this narrative of trying to blame the customer.
Yeah, like the fact that they even said that on the call is offensive.
That was an error. That was an error.
Oh no!
I was negligent.
Oh no!
I was also drinking, so I was negligent and drunk. Yeah, and I just feel that the entire thing was set up to be believable. And this is from someone who is not actually that au fait with internet banking.
I'd almost feel less mad in a weird way.
He doesn't do any internet banking. He does all his banking on his phone.
Oh God, what?
Because that's the service they offer. It's a telephone bank.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I know. Don't start me. But I know. But but they assure you it's safe. And because and all this sort of stuff, like they start accusing him of having allowed them to remotely access his computer, and I laughed. I was like, no, they have not done that.
That is a scam that people run. That is a very
that is a scam that people run, but but I was like, categorically, that had not happened. I know that had not happened. It's but again, it's all about this. Trying to find the reason that wasn't them.
Yeah, I mean,
which really started to annoy me.
There's a lot of
and I get that, but what I wanted them to be doing was stopping those transactions. Like, I would have been quite happy to have conversations about who was to blame after they'd stopped the transactions.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I felt like I was wasting my time when they should have been stopping a criminal.
Well, the problem is that you're dealing with a weekend crew. You're dealing with people who can't do anything, and these I'm going to put a little humanity behind it to be a little fair. For this type of situation, a lot of times these people's jobs just hang by a thread over their heads, and they have to clear a certain amount of cases. They have to avoid a certain amount of negative outcomes. They have to avoid a certain amount of actions. So like. And this is an unfair situation these people are put in, where if they can come up with a reason why it was your poor dad's fault.
Oh yeah, no, I would. I mean, I'm not going to ever blame an individual in this chain.
And it
some
sucks.
of them,
It sucks.
all of them are quite nice, even though they were asking questions that I found personally offensive. I understand that they're just reading off their script.
Yeah. It really sucks that their job is to push you in these directions, and if they don't do their job, they will be fired immediately. And that's like it's terrible.
I felt genuine empathy from them.
Yeah.
But again, they're not really humans. They're just on tracks, right?
Yeah.
Moving along the system. I
personally am very much in favor of phone apps for banking. And the main reason I say that is because it's the same thing as a website for banking, which is there's a lot of infrastructure in place to make sure that you can feel confident that your data is going to the right spot, as opposed to a telephone. No one validates who I'm talking to on the telephone. The incoming phone number can be trivially faked, and is constantly.
Oh, well, I mean, to be fair, for our telephone banking, they actually use voice recognition software.
For me, as a customer?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem, right? So they tell you we're using voice recognition software. Now, the regular customer, like my parents, think, oh, it's secure. They don't actually think...
Yeah, no, what?
who is this securing? I know. But this is the problem. Their marketing doesn't say, "Oh well, we've really well protected ourselves, so you better fucking take responsibility," does it?
Yeah,
That's not going to get them
Yeah, but the thing is,
any
I want to feel
customers.
protected. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Because they're a bank. They're a giant multi-billion-dollar company. They'll do what it takes to protect themselves. I'm actually not that worried about them. I'm worried about me. I want to make
Oh
sure
really? I
that when
actually stay up at night and I worry about the
worrying
big
about the
banks.
banks, I want to feel like when I say to a bank, please transfer money to my to someone, that I'm sending that request to the right person. That I'm not being, that I'm not sending that request to some middleman who's defrauding me. So that's why I say for website and app things, I feel confident that I'm not communicating with someone improper because the app is secured. Like the content of the
Mm.
app is validated that it's the bank's app and it's not some other version of the app unless someone's done something absolutely crazy to my phone. The endpoint my app is
Mm.
communicating with on the network is cryptographically secured, so my app feels confident that it's talking to the right endpoint. Like,
I use the face recognition as well, so like it actually turns itself off when my face is not looking at the phone app.
oh, weird. That's cool.
No, it is weird because if I'm like doing something and I look away to check the payment details, it's already switched itself off. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, Like, but I will not complain in future because that's great. Like I'm like, yes, thank you, app.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like what happened is you had a culture of people who were used to doing phone banking, and then they just
Hmm.
came up with ways to like make that work out for them okay. And sure, I
Yeah, I
guess,
mean
but now
that's
you're ripe for fraud.
they've used, but they've used phone banking for 20 years.
Yeah,
When they brought it in, they're like, use the new and modern, safer phone banking. No one can steal your money now. And my parents believed them all the way up until today.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so they cleared out all their savings. They've got nothing left. We're not sure how they're going to pay their direct debits over the next few weeks. Luckily, the fraudsters put the money into some of them, not all of the money, but a small portion of the money into my account. So I do have that, although it's also now frozen as a potential fraudulent transaction.
Prepare for them to claim that it was you the whole time.
Yeah, but that's what I was afraid of. I was
Yeah,
legitimately afraid. I was like, "Can you please?" I was talking to the policeman. I was like, "Can you please make sure that someone doesn't come and stick me?" Like I didn't. I'm not going to steal their money. I'll give it back. But yeah,
yeah. Gemma defrauded her bank because she was drunk. That's what happened, Rudolph. She was super wasted. And she called the bank. She was like, "Give me all the money," and they were like, "Well, that sounds legitimate."
um, but yeah, it's. So I want everyone to go and I want them to talk to their parents and tell them that these scams are really very real
Yes.
and like never let themselves be pushed. Like put down the phone and don't. The other thing is don't call them back on the same line because they have these little devices, right? They keep the line open, so that doesn't matter what phone number you dial. The phone line was never closed, so
Weird.
they'll
You
just
can
say
do
hello.
that?
This is yeah. It's yeah. This is quite
Is
a.
this a
This has been a
landline
scam
thing?
for quite a while. No, they can do it with the phones now. It used to only be landlines, but they actually have a little box now which somehow manages to stop the phone from cutting.
That's weird.
Um, I,
Uh-oh.
it's really weird. I don't know how they did it, but the policeman was like, "Yeah, this is fairly a common problem. That even people think that the cell phones are safe, but they're not."
That's very strange. I've
Um,
never heard of that.
no, exactly, and that's why I do wonder as well because my dad was really not sure whether he had called or they had called, and I wonder if they had tricked him into kind of saying, "Oh, we'll call the back," and done that to him.
Hmm.
Um, he can't, and the thing is, a lot of it's come into a blur. Like because it then escalated into such a big stress, and he was already stressed. They'd already panicked him. Yeah, it was a nice way, huh? Um, and so, and that's the thing. So, and as I said, you put down the phone and call someone else. You know, like call someone else.
I could
See if you get
see.
through to them.
I could see that if they try to do that thing because they'll oftentimes record your conversations, but like recording. I don't know. I feel like again I'm immersed in American law, so I have no idea how this works other places. But like
Well,
there's
I don't know how this works normally either. So,
a lot of thinking going on here.
yeah, no,
Unknown.
Bionel, they lost tens of thousands. They lost their entire life savings currently. If we can't cover the cash, who knows?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's why I just don't ever call anyone. Just don't ever accept any phone calls. By now I nice reach pin Futanya Dora. Do we flip? We don't, but that's okay. Still a good payback for all the points we'd lost and the friends we'd lost along the way. Yeah, I just don't accept any phone calls. Like pretty much,
No,
unless I
yeah,
already know the number. Like there's tons of scammers calling from any phone call that comes from my home area code is almost definitely a scam. Ooh, Sanshoku.
yeah, I saw exactly what I saw. Yeah, I mean,
Sanshoku Junchan?
the thing is, it's all very well to say like, oh, I wouldn't fall for this scam, but there's definitely a scam out there
Oh
that
yeah,
you
yeah.
would fall for. I actually, after reached out to a few people last night because I was really upset, and one person told me some terrifying scam that the person had been banging on the door saying, "Help me, help me, help me! I'm in trouble," to gain entry to their parents' house,
Oh my god. Yeah, that's.
and had then managed to convince the parents to transfer money. I
Wait,
don't know how that
what?
happened. I know, but that's the thing, like this is it's the exact same thing. At no point did they think that there was a problem, because that's the thing, like there's all these psychological tricks, and one of the psychological tricks that they used against my dad was asking him to verify himself. So the question now is, are you who you say you are, rather than what we should be doing is like, are you, Mr. Caller, who you say you are? And let's be honest, when you call the bank, are you taking that attitude when you go in? Do you go in thinking like, I need to confirm that this is actually my bank? Because I don't.
Yeah, generally,
Maybe you're
I
smart.
do not. Oh my god. So this is what Sanshoku Dora. So it's already 3, and we're waiting on this 5. I don't know how we make this
Probably
better.
should reach it. Well, if I kept that 9 pin, I could actually. Well, there's 2 9 pins out. Could have made it a Jin-chan.
Yeah, is it worth it? Is it worth reaching and waiting on the 9
I
so?
I'm not going to reach it. I'm going to see if I get the 9 pin, because
Okay.
Jin-chan would be 3.
Jin-chan, yeah, that would be
Jin-chan
a
would be
huge
3.
upgrade.
Sanshoku.
And you can still shut
Then
it
I can
down.
reach. Yeah.
And that 9 so seems much more likely to come out.
Does it? I feel like to the right of me is a flush.
Possibly.
But yeah, so this was not obviously a robocall. It was always started off as a human. They had a lot of details as well. They knew the transactions that he'd recently
Yeah.
made.
That's
They
crazy to
had
me. How could
information
they
about other.
possibly? Well, no. If they were logged
I
into the
don't know.
website, that must have been what happened. They must have been logged into the website. They must have gotten his credentials or set up an account for him if he never did.
Well, that's the thing, and this might be a British problem. Once you've got the card number and the sort code and the account number, which is they've obviously managed to get, which I can imagine, a lot of these breaches allow them to access this information. They then started logging in, because you can log in with that information, and then you have to pass the security test on the
Right.
website, right? The security test being security questions. So it's at that point they called my father and said, "We need you to prove who you are. Can you please ask some security questions?" And then they just typed in the information he fed.
That must have been what happened. That's crazy.
But they already knew his name. When he picked up the phone. They said, "Hello, am I speaking to Martin College?" They already knew.
Yeah, but
So they already
that's
had a
not.
significant amount of information.
If there was an information leak that resulted in them getting his stuff, it's not crazy to me.
Hi, Terrell.
See you later.
Good luck.
Good luck. Honestly, Reki, that's usually not the problem. Like, it's much harder for people like these types of how would I put this? So
Using human vulnerability,
yeah,
they're abusing. The weak link in any computer program, right, is the human.
yes. I mean, from my experiences in the industry, what do you call it? Social something. I feel dumb for forgetting this term.
Like social engineering.
So yeah, social engineering, exactly. So social engineering is the best way to succeed. Social engineering will win every time. The idea that someone's going to go on your computer and hack through your computer and get files out of it to go back around and use another app on your computer, really, it doesn't happen. Unless you are the target of a nation state. In which case, you're just screwed. If China wants your shit,
that level,
if China wants your shit, if Russia wants your shit, hope it's China, because China probably won't poison you. But honestly, I feel like if I had to pick, I'd rather have China, because they'd probably just take my shit.
I But even Facebook, like my dad was like, well, but they knew my date of birth, and I'm like, I bet you it's on fucking Facebook.
Oh yeah, but that's just don't do this stuff at all. Like the idea that through using your home computer for Facebook, someone's going to get something on your computer that later, when you go to your bank website, is going to steal your data, doesn't really happen that much unless you're incredibly bad at computers. In which case, just don't use any computer. You just shouldn't be. It's the phone. The human interaction is the more dangerous angle at all times. Anyone calling you should ring warning bells. Frankly, if my bank called me, I'd be like, I don't know why you're doing this. Who are you? And it's tough, but what Gemma describes is really difficult, because it does sound like you had someone who got access to these core pieces of information. It might be a data leak. Frankly, it might be a data leak from the bank. Who knows?
I mean, they just recently had a massive leak in the UK of like 15 million cards and numbers and
that
names.
might be it.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, and they don't know who leaked it, because I said, you know, they pulled all of this stolen information from God knows where and shoved it into big databases that they're selling off, right?
Yeah.
And you know, he's there blaming himself. He's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done it. I'm like, at no point you ever going to find the point where your information was stolen. It's just not possible. We can speculate.
Well, you can try, and then you can, again, here at least you can sue them.
Yeah, I don't think we would know how that information ever been stolen. It could have been stolen by an individual.
What will end up happening here is like you'll end up being like, oh, we finally sued, you know, the company that leaked 5 million people's information, and so each of the 5 million people was a part of the class action lawsuit, and then you get a piece of mail being like, you won the suit, the bank owes you $12, and you're like, oh, thank you. And how much did the lawyers get? $12 million. Huh.
Yeah,
funny
really
that.
well, exactly. Call the number on the back. That's exactly what you should do. But that's the thing, and you know, and the thing is, we're at this age now when we talk about these things, we're a little bit more cynical, right? And at some point, I'm going to be the age of my parents. You know, my dad's a pensioner, and I'm going to be that person who gets caught.
That'd be great.
I know, but you know, and that's the thing. You know, even hearing, and you know, what was really hurt me actually was, you know, my dad's an honest man, and he immediately was trying to say, I made a mistake, you know, trying to own the error. This is not your fucking mistake, you know, this is not, you did not do this to yourself, you know. It's, I want to say rape victims, because there's obviously nothing like a rape situation, but there's some sort of similar psychology, you know, that when you become a victim of a crime, you start to try and rationalize, what did I do that was wrong so I don't do it again? Yeah. And the problem is, I'm not sure you can think about it like that, because it may be that there was nothing you could ever have done to stop it. And
it's difficult. I think I was talking about something very tangentially related to this, but the same attitude of like, it's easy to externalize your problems and say, well, this happened because someone else, this happened because, and this applies to kind of any problem. And I think it is responsible to say, hey, did I do something to make this problem happen? But I think that it's important when you do that evaluation that you are even about it. And the answer sometimes is no. No, this was not my fault. You know, this was actually someone else's fault. And the answer sometimes might be, yeah, I should have done something different. And so I think it's a natural reaction. And it's also, I think, a reaction to feeling, and the similarity between those types of situations is feeling out of control, feeling like something that you thought was safe is no longer safe, and it makes you feel uncomfortable. I mean, many people have described, again, similar, I'm not trying to make an equality statement, but similar feels like having your house burglarized. You feel safe in your home. And now all of a sudden, the home that you felt was safe doesn't feel safe anymore because something unsafe happened there. There's a legitimate reason for that, and it's a really bad feeling. And of course, you want to think when something terrible happens to you that makes you feel upset and unsafe, could I have done something? Should I have known? Yeah. Should I have done? These are all, I think, very human things to think.
I mean, I've had my credit card cloned or something, and you know, someone managed to extract money from it, large sums of money. And I still want to like, when could that have happened? I still don't quite understand, because I rarely use the card anyway. And I had a similar, you know, as soon as I called the bank, I was like, oh, you know, they accused me of giving someone my PIN number. I was like, dude, I don't know my PIN number. How could I have given my PIN number to someone? I don't even know it. Like, they're like, oh, have you written your PIN number down somewhere? I'm like, no, I don't even know it. I wouldn't even be able to give it to you if I tried. You know. You laugh because you realize this is exactly what I would be like.
Oh yeah,
it's totally legit, you know, consistent with Gemma's narrative. And you know, and then like, 'cause all the money had been extracted in Malaysia in person with a cloned version of my card. I'm like, I've never been to Malaysia. what were you thinking?
Yeah.
You know, like these are the same company that if I go and use my card in the supermarket, like just a few yards down the road, they're like, oh, fraudulent transaction. And it's really embarrassing because at the moment, if I get a fraudulent transaction, I have to approve it with Face ID, right? So I'm in the supermarket and it'll be, your card's not been authorized. It's come through as a potentially fraudulent transaction. It comes up on my phone, potentially fraudulent transaction. You need to prove it with your face. And then, of course, because everyone's got face masks on, and I'm stood there going, I'm so sorry, I have to put my face mask down for the Face ID. And they're all like staring at me going like, I bet that gal's got COVID. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not breathing. Like, it's really embarrassing. So yeah,
I've never heard of Ashes of Creation. I don't know.
But I will also no longer complain about that. My Face ID is much better. That happens, and they block my card every time I try to buy a bottle of gin, which I think, again, this is what also annoys me. For some reason, Gemma going to the supermarket, meters from her house, brings up a fraud alarm.
Risky times. But like Malaysian person just being like jackpot ATM machine is just like, oh yeah, that's good.
And the same with this fraudulent with my father. 15 transactions of varyingly different large sums over a space of 30 minutes.
They didn't
Fine.
Do anything
Fine.
about that.
I know.
They were just like, beep boop, fits the pattern.
You've got to laugh, right?
There was an era for me, especially way back when, back when I first went to Japan in 2007, I learned this. At that time, I was like, I get one use out of my card.
Yes.
Before the bank shuts it down. So I was like, I better just withdraw all the
right?
even though I told them where I was, even though I told them what happened, like I got one use out of my card, and then I got an email being like, your card is made of fraud. We have canceled it forever. We are mailing you a new card. It will be there in 2 months. And I'm like, okay, well. Like,
that happened to me as well. I was careful as well. I was like, this is the one use.
Yes,
and I tried to use it twice within like 10 minutes to make sure that I got enough cash out. Because this is the other thing I don't understand. I'm actually not allowed to move more than £10,000 in my account in one day.
A hard stop.
There's a hard limit. I think I can remove that limit if I wanted to, but I don't have cause to move £10,000. If I was going to buy a big product, of course I would call the bank and say I'd arrange for that to be done properly. But the fact that these people managed to move many multiples of that 10,000,
is that even legal?
Further baffles me.
It's not legal here. I feel like there's I see, Ricky. I had that a long time ago, back when the Wii first came out. I remember I couldn't buy my Wii because I'd hit that limit of like per day spend on my card, and I called my bank and I was like, I'm a fucking high roller. Do you know who the fuck I am? You take that limit off my card right now. I spend what I want. This is my money. And I think I made them get rid of that. But like, I think the only card I don't have a limit on is.
I think the only one I don't have a limit on is actually my Amex, but then I pay a subscription to Amex, right?
Yeah. Well, Amex, that's why I primarily used my Amex for a long time, because Amex was much better at fraud detection and sanity and like letting me use my money, because I think they were a traveler's card. Their heritage was being a traveler's card that you could use wherever you went instead of carrying around traveler's checks, which were, I think, basically cash equivalent, and you don't want to carry those if you can help it.
Oh yeah, I used to carry traveler's checks. Like in the beginning, like when I first started traveling, I was much, obviously I couldn't get an Amex, I was too young for that, but I was there with my sacred American Express traveler's checks.
Yeah, so Amex, at least historically, has been incredibly good at fraud protection, which is why they're my card of choice, or they have been my card of choice.
Oh yeah, and I've actually had fraud on my Amex, and they handled it so quickly.
Yeah, they're very
really,
good.
Really quick. I contacted them and I was like, this transaction, I did not make this transaction. I have not received whatever product this is saying it's for. And they were like, are you sure? Like, have you checked? And I'm like, they did say, like, could you have bought this? Maybe. I think they were trying to suggest I was drunk. And I was like, maybe they're so used to British people on drunken spending sprees, so this is something they need to ask.
Just gotta ask, was this a, little drinky, spendy, like...
Yeah. But you know what? Within 15 days, the money had been returned to me. I couldn't fault that personally. Yeah. I know they've got to ask for sure. They've got to cover their bases, because I'm sure they have underwriters. I don't mind if they have to
go through a script to make sure that I did was reasonable. As long as I have faith that the outcome is going to be correct.
And also, they have to go through that script partly to make sure that I am not, undertaking risky behavior. So this happens again and again, right? If I'm sat there with my PIN number and my card in the same location, they need to stop me doing that, or they just cancel me and my account because I am not a trustworthy customer. I'm good with that. Fine,
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, Amex have been good to me, although they are pricey.
They are. It's expensive, but yeah, they've been very good to me. And my bank, I think over the years, my bank went from like, we've canceled your card instantly due to you doing anything with it, to like a lot of aggressive fraud checks with a way for me to respond. And nowadays they're just like, yeah, you don't even have to tell us when you go places. It's cool. But I have a guarantee. Like the laws here mean I am guaranteed no liability if someone messes with my card.
Well, I think even though I'm a European customer with Amex, I think I enjoy your
with Amex you probably do. With
Amex laws. Yeah.
This is for even my debit card. Even my debit card. If anyone screws with my debit card, I'm guaranteed no liability.
See, that's what I'm confused about, because they were basically using my father's debit card. I assumed that he would not have liability.
I would sure. If they were using the debit card, I thought they were using transfers, like account transfers.
No, they were using debit card. They were using the debit card.
Oh,
so
yeah,
the bank
then
transfer
he should be able to just
element.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Then if
and this was my further anger, because I was like, we have the chargeback mechanism. I'm assuming it must be the same.
Charge back all of it. Just like, I can test these charges. I never made these charges.
Yeah, but the problem is because he gave the authorization codes. But he didn't believe that he was making payments. He didn't realize.
Yeah, he still didn't.
Do you see the?
He still didn't initiate the payment.
No, exactly. They're trying not to pay out.
Yeah, like if someone had stolen his phone and gotten the text, like, you can't prove they didn't steal his phone. In fact, that's kind of what I was saying. I was saying, do you have proof that he gave the authorization codes? Do you know this call happened? Are you responsible for this call? Because if not, and I sure hope not, otherwise you defrauded my father. Like, what do you want? Were these calls recorded? You have zero proof that anything happened other than that these transactions were initiated by a fraudulent party who happened to be able to provide the codes, which means they jumped through your gate. Yeah. Okay, cool. It's still fraud.
I mean, maybe that's what I should have done. I should have just told him to call the police and say his phone had been stolen. And then deny knowledge. I don't know. You
don't want to be the one lying about any part of it.
I don't want to be the fraud. But that's the thing. And that's the thing. Like, the system they've created is this point where I'm like, should we have even been honest? Are they just going to say, oh, you can't have your money back because of this and this?
Yeah, that's the problem.
But yeah, because when I finally kind of got myself together and I saw that they were debit card transactions, I was like, oh, this is good, because my fear was, as you said, it'd been moved to a fraudulent account and then bounced to another account, and it was gone into the ether. You know that.
Yeah, but these are
I appreciate that the banks
never go through.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate the banks have difficulty chasing when someone has moved actual money from one account and then it's gone, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I can appreciate that.
But I can see that's harder.
Yeah, exactly. But again, they're pending debit card transactions.
Can you just issue straight chargebacks?
We have to fill in a form. I asked them directly. I want to charge back these transactions. Why can't I charge these back? And then, we have to talk to the fraud team. Everything starts again on Monday. So of course, I mean, we've got time to do the chargeback. It's when there's not we don't have to do it within 24 hours. We've got we've got many weeks.
Having this dangle over the weekend is still really rough. So I'm sorry about that.
It is
the worst.
I mean, to be honest, it might be better though, because when I went up to my parents in the evening, I was quite calm. I was like, we're going to fix this, and I went to bed. And I didn't really sleep, and then I kind of woke up, and I haven't slept for 36 hours at this point, and I was stressed. And probably, I was not in the right frame of mind. And it's a good thing my brother came, because he was much better on the phone at that point. And I think that maybe having tomorrow to kind of, deflate from the high of it happening right there and then, so that then we can be like, okay, this is the narrative we are pushing, and do you know what? If they aren't going to give my parents their money back, this bank, and I won't name them yet, but if they don't give the money back, I will name the motherfuckers. Actually, if they give the money back, I'll also name them, because they did a good job. But I am going to make sure that I extract every penny from them in employee time. I will call them. I've got a lot of time. I read a lot of Reddit. I will change my Reddit reading time to calling them to complain. I will be the worst non-customer they've ever had.
You should. They need to suffer for it. Yeah, I'm for the first time, I feel a little jealous that our banks, or not jealous, but I feel a little bit proud that our banks have done a better job, or at least for me, with this kind of thing, that I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's crazy. Brutal.
And
It
it
was
still
yeah, a
upsets
good
me as
amount.
well, like this could, because, yeah, this is like, because this was done, to my parents. They're lucky that they have their children near them, right? And I have, there's so many people who wouldn't have people
Yeah,
around
yeah.
them. When my
People.
parents were there, they were literally in no good state of mind to handle the problem
Well,
that was unveiling before them. And they were talking on the phone to these people, and they weren't saying the right things. It was me snatching the phone, going, "I talk to them. I talk to them. I know what to say to them." And think about, those older people who are isolated, especially during COVID. They don't see people. They've got no one to talk to. They're embarrassed. My father is humiliated. He would be horrified that I'm telling you all now, but I think it's important
well, I
personally.
don't think it's anything to be embarrassed of. Again, it sounds like this was a sophisticated scam attempt. This definitely was not someone just being like, "Hello, I am a stranger. Can I have your money, please?" And him being like, "Okay, yeah, sure." Sounds legit. Like this sounds. It sounds like this was
I know. I mean, we all agree, but of course, my father, all he
it is
sees
it
is,
is of course. I mean,
is
no
me
one
cancel
likes
all
it.
my plans, my brother and me breaking the law so that we can go and help them out, and just this huge drama that envelops around it, and he's embarrassed and he's humiliated, and he's like, oh, other people wouldn't have happened to them, and he can believe that. I don't believe that's even remotely
I mean,
true,
that's
and
entirely untrue because if this would never have worked on anyone, people wouldn't be doing the scam. Like the fact that
yeah,
people are doing the scam means that it works on people.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
so
it
then
happens a lot. Thank you, Becky. But yeah, so but then he doesn't want. Yeah, I'm like, and I said to him, like, you should definitely be telling all your friends that this is happening. Like, we don't know how this bank details were stolen. Maybe all of your friends are at risk.
yeah, no, it's important. It's important to not let shame stop you from warning people. It sucks. Like I
Yeah,
get why it feels bad, but it's like if one person can be aware and then not suffer for this, it's worth it. I think.
yeah.
This might
Oh
be
my God,
the
I didn't add the extra fucking annoying element to this. So,
oh man.
so the fraudster gave me the bank account details that they wanted me to transfer the money to. Right? Because toward the end, I've become part of what they're
Right,
trying
right.
to defraud. Right? They gave me the bank account details. So I've called my parents' bank and I told them the entire story. I've given them the account details of the account that these people tried to move the money to,
Hmm.
and they're like, okay, well, we can't do anything with that. I'm like, shouldn't you call that bank and tell them that fraudulent activity is potentially
Yeah,
happening with this
like
account?
shouldn't there be some? Well, the answer probably is again. This is like a banking system problem. There's no way to communicate with that bank for them. Like they don't have their internal bank systems don't talk to that bank system, so they're just like, I don't know, what are we gonna do? It's not our legal obligation to tell another bank that they're having fraudulent activity. So
That really, so I knew I called that bank up because I could find out from the sort code
mm,
which bank. Actually, I recognized it because I am a customer of that bank. I
right,
called them and I said, look, this has happened to my parents. You need to be aware that we haven't transferred money in there, but there is a high likelihood that this account is being used to launder money and is in the control of fraudsters. Maybe it's not even a fraudster who opened the account. It might be
right,
some
right. It might
other
be someone
innocent
else's account.
sucker.
It probably is if they're smart. If they're
Yeah.
smart enough to be doing these kind of sophisticated things, they probably have some chump whose account they're manhandling while the person's not paying attention.
Yeah. So, and I was like, you need to contact this person, and or you need to freeze the account. And to be fair, they were good. I don't know if they were just telling me shit because of course they don't have to do anything for me. They're like, okay, well, we'll do our best. And I felt they probably were going to do their best. But again, I got angry because I was like, why are you asking me if people have been drinking when you should be trying to stop the money? Like,
Yeah.
go and do something real. Like, I'll answer all of these questions
I'm
after you've gone and gotten the money.
I'm like 99% sure that the people who actually handle this are not physically available at this point. And so the people who you're talking to on the phone have like very basic powers to do very basic things and can't do anything else. And then like don't know what to say about that.
Yeah. But then this is not my problem. They need a 24/7 fraud team
Hmm, they do.
because I'm pretty sure most of the fraudsters operate off hours.
I mean, that's probably deliberate, right? The longer,
Yeah.
the more difficult they make it for you to do anything about it, the longer they have to not get caught, more chance they have that people just are like, oh, I guess it happened. Oh, well. Like,
And I presume they were hoping that this would be a longer play out for them. We're kind of lucky that we caught it within 45 minutes, but you hear these horror stories about these ones that draw out for 48 hours. with multiple transactions. And, they were aware of another account that my parents had, which, again, I don't know how they could have known this, but they were aware of another account. And they said, oh, and you've got this other account, we know. And they started commenting about how they need to secure that as well, apparently. And I presume that was then the play, that they would then move money from my parents' account into my account and then tell me that I had to move them to a safe account under the control of my parents, right? They've opened a new account for my parents. These are the details. You need to send this here.
Yeah, like... God, it's all just put all your money under a pillow. I know, it's absolute
garbage. I know, right? I'm like, I'm only going to use cash from now on.
I'm just tired of these banks. Like, and again, it's like for the banking system is so held together with duct tape, and there's so much leeway made for things to just kind of like get sorted out in the end. Like, it's banks are the worst. Banks are the worst.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm asking you now is please call your parents or the vulnerable people in your life and tell them that they need to be. Just put the phone down. I said it's never that urgent. You can always call the number on the back of the card. Call someone to help you. If you are actually legitimately experiencing a fraud right now, you need someone with you. And end of story. If this is a legit, you need someone with you.
Yeah, there's no urgency. Nothing is going to happen in 10 minutes. It's fine. It's fine.
And certainly, there's nothing that the bank can't do that they need the customer for. Like if they can freeze any transaction they want if they so wish.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't need your authorization to freeze a fucking transaction. But because I laugh at that, but then, because my father became invested, right?
Sure.
They used all of these psychological tricks to invest him in the conversation. And then the procedure, it's always a process. Oh, don't worry. We're going to go through this process to help you.
Yeah, but again, and this is obviously the clear thinking of being outside of it. But it's like, if you're calling me about fraud, you've already identified the transactions as fraudulent, right? So you've already stopped them, right? Like, why would you need, in other words, the default action should be close. If a transaction happened and it's fraudulent, and you're calling me saying we think this transaction is fraudulent, what you're telling me is that without my authorization, that transaction will be canceled. Correct?
Yeah.
Thusly, if I hang up the phone right now and I never pick up again, this transaction won't happen. That should be the default posture. Again, this is all obviously with the clarity of not being in the situation. But like, it's important to remember these things, right? Like if someone's calling you from the bank claiming they've already identified fraudulent traffic, the worst thing that happens is someone else calls you later saying, "Oh, you were supposed to pay me, but it didn't go through for some reason," which also can wait. Like.
Yeah, but the problem is they gain your confidence, right? The confidence tricksters.
Of course. Again, it's easy to say woulda, coulda, shoulda when you're not in the situation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, the fact that he couldn't even remember if he'd made the call or not,
This is Gemma.
I don't think I can follow through on this one.
Your Wests. You had it. But you didn't believe hard enough from the beginning.
I didn't believe hard enough from the beginning.
Didn't believe hard enough from the beginning. But you do have the door, which is pretty
so that was basically an hour and a half of ranting about how don't become a victim of fraud. And now, you know what? It's funny. Even though I didn't lose any money from this, I'm now super stressed, stressed that, these fraudsters know my details and they're going to call me because, they got my father to call me on the other line, right? And the other line is, one of those the touch phones, so it makes a noise.
Yeah.
So if they're smart, it should have been able to take my number, right?
Yeah. If that's pretty high end, but it's possible. I don't know, honestly,
I wouldn't have said it was that high. The fact that I can think of it makes it very not high end, personally.
Ricky,
if Gemma can think of it,
super don't care, and I don't think there's a stigma at all. The other party might think you're low on funds, like that's their weird problem. First of all, if I'm smart, I shouldn't be keeping all my money in a bank account anyway. My money should be invested, right? Like, I would not be at all worried that someone's gonna be like, oh, you probably don't have enough money.
Pull a mask down. If someone has to pull a mask down, to authorize bank transactions in the supermarket, there's no shame anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Like the number of people who stood there and they're like, oh, I bet she doesn't have enough money for at one point, and this was really embarrassing. This didn't happen recently, but last year, my bank refused the transaction, and the poor guy behind me, he was like, if you don't have enough money, I can pay for you. And I was like, that's really sweet, and I really appreciate it, and you're a wonderful human. Definitely save this for someone else. I'm just having bank troubles.
Yeah, like anyone, if you want to think badly of someone because something bounced, it's like, whatever. I mean, if you're repeatedly bouncing things, that gets a little weird, but if it happens once, meh.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got here? We can talk a little bit about this Mahjong.
No,
Oh, you can't.
I'm Dojin.
Yeah,
Dojin Sanshoku.
Dojin
This is
Sanshoku.
sorry. Usually I play on Bexar Galvi, right? So this is my alt that I
Oh,
make
it's your alt for
on.
the tournament.
Yeah, for the tour. Well, yeah, I have. This is the server which is
Yeah, if
much
you,
more Mahjong populated. My God, people! Now we can do when we can do data center travel. These queues are
oh,
going to
it'll be
be wizard.
great.
Do you know what? Actually, Rutalaw, sometimes when I'm a little bit distracted, I think I play better. I don't
Because
overthink
you
so
don't
much,
second
right? I
guess things. Yeah,
play.
you don't second guess things.
Yeah,
Oh
I
wow,
play more to how I've been trained or what I've learned rather than
fast,
being like, but am I right? But
fast.
that's the opposite. If you're getting scammed, you should definitely second guess. In Mahjong, it's not
Yeah,
really
yeah.
that
If you
relevant.
can journey between data centers, you can go Mahjong queue elsewhere. Oh, this is good. This has a lot of great shapes.
But hopefully the data center will just be one big queue, right? For
It should be.
Mahjong.
Yeah, I think
You
that
don't
is
have
already true. I believe that is already true. No, I'm not. I'm
so
not currently
within the
playing.
data center, but once they do data center travel,
Right.
hopefully it'll just be one big queue amongst all the
Oh,
data
I
centers.
believe. I
And
hope that's the plan. I hope that's the plan.
I hope that's the plan. And then we'll have the Japanese players as well.
That'd be pretty sick.
That would be sick. Then we're cooking with gas.
Don't get rid of that north. You're gonna. Oh no, the Dora. You're gonna need that Dora. I'm
I'm not gonna
stretching
need
because you're
that
gonna need
door.
the Dora. See, we've had
I'm not gonna
all
need
of.
the door.
It's been thrown already. I guess. I guess you're fine. Are we going for 5, 6, 7 Sanchoku? Is that where we're going here?
No, I've got a problem though. But yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah,
I do have
I'm
a
actually playing
problem.
the game in the next hour, so I cannot stay right till the very end.
Oh, that's okay. I can jump on. Oh, that's a little better. All right, we got reach pin for Dora. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I was gonna say I have my own good news. Hold on, I have good news. I have not bad news.
Oh, you have good news. I'm doing all the bad news, so you can bring all the good news.
Yeah, I'm gonna be leaving. I'm out of here. I'm outies in a few days. So I don't know how
Oh,
we're gonna do
Dave
this.
is I'm so jealous. So Dave, I've asked him to say because actually on Sunday is the year anniversary of my final flight
Oh my god, are you
before the
serious?
entire world started to burn. And so I have asked Dave to take photos of the taxi ride to the airport, any photo of the airport. Do you know, I would ask him to take pictures of the bathrooms, but they're
It's a
men's, and
little
I imagine
weird.
that's probably kind of
I'm
gross.
not doing
Yeah.
that. I'll be fair.
Well, I mean,
The
in
airport
the girls'
bathrooms are usually
bathroom, it'd
pretty
be pretty
aggressively
normal.
scrubbed. So like they're
Yeah,
usually not gross, but
but I imagine boys don't take photos. But and the girls they were there, they're like they're taking their selfies. So.
I know
But it might
pulling
be a
my
bit
phone
weird.
out in the
It's fine.
men's room is probably a bad play. I would not. I'm not doing that.
Okay, that's fine. But I want pictures of airport lounges. I want pictures of the airline food. I honestly, I would love pictures of people queuing to get on the flight. Getting and everyone kind of like, "Bleh."
It's gonna be weird
I
though, because they're all
really
gonna
need
be
that.
swaddled in PPE. Like it's gonna be nuts.
I know. Okay, don't
Uh
send me
oh.
those. Those are
Uh oh.
triggering. I really like.
Our dealer is
I
in
want to be
a.
in a hotel.
Sorry, I'm looking at the
I want
dealer.
to be in a hotel. That's right. I'm looking at them too, but I just want to be in a hotel. I want to be in a hotel. I want to train. I just want to be anywhere.
Oh, there we go.
So Dave is going to send me pornography from his
What?
trip.
No, that's not how that works at all.
Pornography in the form of plain food photos.
Okay, yes, that I can definitely get you plain food photos for sure.
Yes. Where are you going, Dave?
I'm going back to Taiwan, where things are normal and I can go around and not have to
You're
worry
going to
about
be able
getting
to
COVID.
shake people's hands.
Probably people don't want to do that, but I could, I guess.
Well, my friend who actually, another American who managed to escape to Taiwan, that was his first Facebook comment after he got released from food jail was, I got to shake hands. I mean, but they are super clean of COVID over there.
They've done it right. They've done it right. Oh, play 16. I could play 16 time Mahjong. That's true. But they're actually not getting massively infected and quarantining and taking care of themselves and their citizens.
I mean, they've had a few cases that burst out, right?
There've been a few little breakouts. There've been a few little breakouts. But
it's much easier to track one breakout than just like lots of little breakouts everywhere, right?
yeah. Yeah. God.
I mean, yeah, I'm not too keen on shaking hands. Partly because people told me that you have to shake hands firmly, but not too firmly, and then I'm like, is this the right level of firm?
Yeah, there's a lot of rules about shaking hands.
I know, right? Too many rules. Too many rules. Like, hi is fine for me. It's funny. I'm probably
Yeah,
more comfortable
usually.
with a hug than I am like a handshake. You know.
Oh, oh, you're 7.
And do you know what's nice about, because when you're shaking a hand, there's very little ways to signal to the other human that you're done
Oh,
with
that's
this,
that's the
right? Like
awkwardness
I
of the
need,
handshake. That's exactly how it works. You start the
but
handshake,
then but then
and then
this is
someone
what's
gives
nice
up.
about the hug. Yeah, but then this is what's nice about the hug. You go in, hug, pat the back, and the back pat is an obvious signal that we are done here now.
Oh, that's very
And
man.
you
That's very
and
much a
you and
man
you
hug.
move yourself. See, I would say that was, I when I hug, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
No,
You
that's
know?
that's that's a
I,
man hug. It's I'm hugging you, but I'm hitting you. That's it's a very
oh, yeah,
masculine hug.
like
Yeah,
boom,
yeah.
boom,
There's
boom.
still even in this gesture there is still violence, so that I'm still properly masculine.
Yeah, let me see. But that's, you go straight in with the boom, boom, we're out, right?
The
Boom, boom, we're
two
out.
bumps. That's a little broy. It's a little weird.
Oh, really? Boom, you're out. Or
No, no. You. It's.
at no point should there be a rub. I'll tell you
Okay,
that
no.
now.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. Any rub is weird. There's the
Yeah,
rub. It's weird. You don't want that. Oh my god. A flush to where are we going here? Oh, we flipped 2 doors. Oh
making
my
Gemma
god.
self-conscious. No, I see. I think that you just come in. It's light. It's not.
No,
But I
you
said
want taps.
the
You want to.
shake. You're like, how do I get out? How do I
No,
who gets out of
it's a
this? You know.
test of dominance. Whoever slackens grip. So with the handshake, you go in, you grip, you shake, and at some point someone is going to slacken their grip, and whoever slackens their grip first has ended the handshake, which doesn't necessarily symbolize losing, but it symbolizes that they've terminated the handshake.
I see. But then I feel like that's less obvious. And the other thing is, everyone is fairly,
It is
engaged
less
in
obvious.
getting out of the hug quickly as possible. you
Because
know?
the hug's a little more awkward than the handshake. Again, the handshake
I
can
know.
be a struggle for dominance. Like, the handshake can be
Yeah,
like, I am shaking your fucking hand, and look how hard I'm squeezing
yeah.
your fucking hand because I'm the big guy here. And then the other person has to just be like, okay. And then you're like, yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
that's the thing with the hug. Everyone's more conscious of like, am I coming across as creepy? Better get out of this quick.
yeah, I could see that. I could see that. You can also do the
Yeah, little
opposite
sweets,
handshake
little
of like
sweets. Yeah,
the quick, curt handshake, and then you release, being like, this is the time I'm giving you in the handshake. Like I have ended the handshake quickly because I'm in charge, and that's done. That's it. That's what you
uh,
get. That's the level of handshake. We're not going to do a big old I'm trying to impress you with my handshake bullshit. We're done here. One shake. There's a lot of finesse.
it's
It's
funny.
like
Me,
the
me,
bow
me,
in
and
a way.
me and Garth both have the super awkward kind of. I guess it's the bro hug now. Like we're just like, hi, tap tap, done.
If
Like,
it's I feel like the closed fist thump you were doing seems much more broy than
okay,
a tap.
okay. You're
Yeah,
like, oh, we
a
just
pat.
like tap
Two
tap tap.
pats is
Yeah,
like that's like
yeah,
a brisk hug of
yeah.
like, yeah,
Like
it's a hug. It's
we
cool.
want we want to yeah we want to greet each other. We're both kind of uncomfortable with the hug situation, but we're going to go for it because that seems the right thing to
I
do.
hope
We've both dispensed with our duties and we're out.
I genuinely hope that Germans have a defined handshake length. That would be living up to everything that I know about Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about handshake. I have a process in my mind that I go through with the handshake where I like ratchet up my firmness at like a pace, a controllable pace, so that if the other person is doing the limp like I guess here's my hand thing, I don't like crush them. But like it's like yeah, you want to amplify to like match their it's a weirdly communicative gesture. Like you need to match their squeeze, but you don't want to crush someone's limp hand in fury unless you really
I
just
yeah
hate them.
I do feel it communicates more than a hug. I got to be honest. I feel like people are like, oh,
It's
hugs are quite intimate, and I'm like, I feel like a hug is the kind of sideways step of trying to define the relationship with the
hug
handshake,
can
right?
be intimate, but it doesn't have to be. It can be.
No,
It
that's what
can
I'm
be.
saying. It can be, but as I said, tap tap. Had a nice. Yeah,
A
we've
French
said hello to each other. Great. We're done. We're done.
The
We're
limp
done.
handshake is incredibly awkward. There's nothing more awkward than like going to do a handshake and finding that the other person has like clammy pudding that they've put in your hand. Um, which like yeah, no one wants that, and you're just like oh, and then you're like, what do I fucking do with this? Do I even continue with the shake motion? Because they're not even contributing muscle-wise to the shake motion. They've just, like, given you their hand in some weird disgust gesture of, like, I guess you can touch it. Like, oh no.
Yes.
No,
I know.
right.
Sorry, I was too
Yeah, we should keep
diverted
talking about
by this
handshakes.
excellent conversation about the handshakes.
We should ever talk about Mahjong. I feel like we have so much other stuff that we get distracted by.
To be fair, today
Today
the
is a
last 24
day.
hours
Today is a
have
day.
been, yes, it's really been a lot. I've got, yeah, I really appreciate everyone listening to me though. I really actually needed to vent it out, because so far all I've been able to do is speak to my parents, and we're all in the little bubble of drama that's happening. To speak to people who are outside of the bubble is really, it's helpful. And to hear other people, at no point has anyone turned around to me going like, oh, well, of course that's going to happen if he does this. What an idiot. No one has said that. Everyone's either got their own story or like, oh my God, I need to contact my parents. This could happen to anyone, right? And that's been kind of helpful, I
don't know how to pronounce any of this, but it looks
Handschlag, Handdruk, Handgeben, Anleitung
how to play the
für
German
den
hand.
perfekten Handschlag. The Handschlag.
Wait, is this a? Oh my God! This is an article, isn't it? But is this advice or specification? That's my question.
I'm not sure. I feel like advice and specifications may be very similar to us.
Yeah, I would say not longer than 5 seconds gets weird. If you're handshaking for longer than 5 seconds, you're in a power struggle. Like, I don't know why you're doing that. That's weird. Welcome back, Carol. Hopefully your game went well.
Look at this temperature, cold or warm, humidity.
There's nothing worse than grabbing a gross hand
is it a push or a pull? Is it slow or fast?
You shouldn't be pulling. Also, pulling. Oh, that was actually that's a Trump thing. But that's something people do sometimes. You use a handshake to pull someone. Like, again, that's a weird like physical dominance gesture, which you don't really want to be doing unless you know you want to be doing it.
I've had people do that to me. Like, they yank me a bit closer. I'm like, dude, like, don't pull me off my feet.
What are you doing? Like, that's weird. And it's always someone. I feel like it's always someone who like read a book once, which was like how to be a dominant personality in business, and it's like, oh yeah, you gotta have like the strongest fucking handshake in the world, and it really just makes people think you're a jerk, and dread meeting with you because I have to endure another one of your handshakes.
I'm not playing another game, guys, by the way, because I have the game scheduled for the hour, so I don't want to start another one and risk danger.
So that's interesting because that is actually a thing that people will do. Apparently, I'm not a fighty man. I've never been in many fights, but I've heard that like this is one of the weird sucker punch tricks people will try to pull. Like they'll be like, "Oh no, it's fine. Let's just shake hands."
Oh
man.
yeah,
yeah. And then they'll yank you and then punch you.
No, I've done that. No, I don't punch. But
You've done that?
Your elbow. I was a school kid in Britain. What do you want me to say, man?
Jeez.
Sorry. So, I was a school child. I wouldn't do it as a bigger person. But yeah, you yank them in, dump.
Who are you striking really like this?
Other small school children. That's what we did.
What?
We're very violent people.
Apparently. That's not what...
Did you never get into fights in the playground?
I mean, I guess I did, but like never where I would think that sucker punching someone was a good plan.
I see, I wouldn't have called that was sucker punching.
That's an elbow to the temple.
Sucko. Oh no, it's the chin, man. You got to get the chin.
That's a more serious fight than the playground fights I recall happening.
Oh, really? Well, I also had a little brother, and my little brother, he's a very good person now. He's a responsible member of society. However, he likes starting fights with bigger kids, right? And then I would hear, like my little friends were like, your brother started a fight with David Jones or whatever. And I'm like, oh, God, David Jones is like double the fucking size of my brother, because my brother's 4 years younger than me in school years. I was like, I can't. If I take my brother home to my mother and he's all beaten up by this child who's, double his size, I'm the one who's going to get into shit. So I'm like, do you know what? If I'm going to get into shit, I'm going to be the person doing the fight. So I would fight for my brother. So my brother would initiate the fight. And somehow by me following through, that makes me less culpable.
I guess. I don't know if that...
No, okay, Dave's not with it. Anyway... we were all small children, and I don't know, like, honestly, like, I just don't feel like I don't think this is the culture of the UK now. It was certainly the culture of the UK at the time. People seem to just accept that children fought with each other physically, violently, you know, like I felt like that, you know, this kind of school playground violence, we never even picked up that it was a problem because no one ever told us it was wrong. You know, things like British Bulldog that we used to play were very violent games.
How do you play British
Bulldog?
This
game where you just run at each other to try and destroy each other.
Were there rules to this game at all, or was it just...
No, it was just violent, and some kid died, actually. That's yeah, it was a very violent
sounds like
game.
A freak accident, though. That sounds like it was just a freak accident. Probably,
I don't know. As soon as heads were involved, unfortunately, because you kind of charge at each other with your head down.
Well, again, I'm more than willing to accept that kids do, like, dumb stuff like that aren't straight up like, I want to hurt other kids. You know, that's what I'm saying. Kids do dumb stuff all the time. They have silly games. They do things where you could get hurt, and then they do get hurt. But I feel like saying, like, let's play a game where I attempt to seriously injure you in a conscious way is, like, not something kids usually do.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think you say that, but you probably were in an environment where the adults around you are telling you you shouldn't do that. That hurts that person. But the adults in my school never ever said that to us. No one ever said you can't do this. No one ever stopped us.
Just sit around in the ring around you betting on it? Like, what are
they may literally have done that. Honestly, I don't remember being stopped for many things. I only remember, the only times I really remember getting detention were, I did make that kid's nose bleed. I did got detention for that. The other time I got detention was when I challenged my school teacher on Adam and Eve having a belly button, because I said, how can they have a belly button if they were created by God? That didn't go down so well. Ended up in detention for a week.
They can have a belly button if they're created by God.
No, but okay. But the point was, they were created by God. So why would God give them the looks? They give me the sex education, obviously, 2 weeks earlier or something. But, you know, they didn't obviously have a placenta. So
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Why?
I mean, if you want to be logically consistent, God can make things any way he wants, right? God can make them with a belly button if he wants to.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And that was my teacher's answer. However, I still feel I had a legitimate question.
I think it's a legit question. It's a legit question.
Yeah, the question itself was obviously not acceptable to the Church of England.
That's a shitty way to treat a kid. Like, it's true. Like, if you're going to tell kids, like, belly buttons are part of the process of being born as a baby, but also Adam and Eve were not born as a baby, and thusly were created by God. I think it's a rational question to say, well, then why do they have this thing that looks like it's from the process they didn't go through?
But you know, I feel like you know, I look back, you know, I'm from a rural area, you know, so this stuff was not happening in the more urban areas, right?
Rules.
Yeah, it's a rural area, so you know, like, honestly, I look back now and some of the shit that happened, I'm like scared of, you know, like, because I was actually left-handed originally, right? So I went into school and I was there writing my left hand. They switched. So I went to another school initially before I moved. So I went to another school. And they let me write with my left hand. And then I got to the school that is still up the road, and they said, you can't be left-handed. It's not okay. And they tied my hand to the table leg to force me to write with my right hand. It's funny, I still do a lot of, like, the strength motions with my left hand. You know, I still prefer my left hand because it's the stronger arm. You know, it's the stronger side. Yeah. But the right hand, because I'm so used to writing with my right hand, I don't think about it anymore.
That's so weird. Yeah, I'm...
But yeah. So this is where the you know, I said they just kind of let us go.
That happened to my grandfather.
As long as I was not causing trouble to adults.
My grandfather was switched from being left-handed to right-handed. They forced him to switch.
Yeah, I mean, it would not happen anymore. I don't think anyone would accept that.
Do they do that in Japan, though?
So, not so much anymore, but they have done. It has been, yeah. But, you know.
The thetans out of lefties. Oh, God.
The thetans out, yeah. But yeah, so I said, you know, like, don't judge me on the child. I'm not violent a person now. You know, that's the problem. We are all products of the system.
You told me the best way to get better at Mahjong was you had to, like, run into each other as fast as possible and smash our heads together.
The more head smashing you can get in Mahjong, the better. Really, the better. Because you don't need those brain cells for Mahjong. They actually hold you back.
I feel like you maybe do. Maybe I'm weird. I feel like you maybe do need those brain cells. Maybe it's important.
I mean, I'd be interested to read your thesis. I'm really skeptical.
So I'm going to have to figure out how we do the stream from Taiwan. It's going to be...
Yeah.
A head bump rule, but not the head smash. It's head bump. That's what head... Yeah, Tamahane. That's the game your kids were playing.
Exactly. That's what I mean. But I actually banned head bump. Oh, no, I put head bump into WRC.
Yeah, head bump's in WRC.
See, violence is already coming out of me. I can't
Violence
stop it.
is endemic to the WRC rules. We need to get rid of them.
You know, you're going to come in for the next WRC, and I'm going to be like, fight.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, I don't need bloodlust WRC. It's not supposed to be like that.
We would get better ratings. We would get better
We would
ratings.
actually get really good ratings.
We would have
bloodlust
sponsors.
Oh
yeah, so I don't know what your situation is, Dave. I mean,
so
I would have
I'm
thought...
going to be there. I don't know what my bandwidth situation is going to be. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have the ability. Like, I should have the ability to like video conference, but I don't know if I'm going to have the full ability to stream. Every day was groups of 5. One doesn't physically make it to the table.
Okay, if we video conference, then we don't have to stream a game, right? We can do something different.
We could do something. Yeah, we could figure something out. I'm going to be there until who doesn't move? I like that. That was a good. If that's a series, well, if that's a series I'm thinking of, I like that. I liked that series a lot. I dreamed I was playing chess and I was the only one following WRC rules. I was beating.
Did I tell you about my dream where Dave beat Mahjong?
Yes.
So in my dream, I was there and I was organising the WRC, and I woke up and I'm like, okay, it's the first day of WRC, and like some kind of like, oh, you don't have to worry, Dave won Mahjong, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, yeah, he won Mahjong, so we don't have to play it anymore. And I'm like, wait, what? And you just got like, yeah, I you know, you just had to do the win conditions, Gemma. You just have to meet the win conditions, and that's it. Mahjong's won. Well, what are we going to do now? That, and then we're going to play Snap, and then we all sat there playing Snap instead of Mahjong.
Your dreams are weird. Your dreams are
I had a
weird.
dream last night of Matt Hancock, our health minister, ice skating. So I need to not.
That sounds kind of pleasant, actually. It was like a nice time.
I don't like Matt Hancock,
and...
so it wasn't like. He's a horrible person.
Oh, really?
It's not his fault, but he is a horrible
person. Why is it
well,
not his fault for him being a horrible person? I feel like you're a horrible person. It's your fault.
Do you know what? He's one of those people that really never made the decision in his life. You know, like he was the kid that everyone bullied in school, and because he was bullied by Tories, he became a Tory. He could have been bullied by anyone. You know, he could have been bullied by Labour, and he'd have become Labour. You know, he just kind of like, oh, love me, and he's also in charge of our COVID response. And
oh yeah, how's what's it called? You're talking about Clubhouse. How's Clubhouse? I'm gonna switch back
don't
to
understand it.
chat view.
Don't on it. Okay, so I've got it. And I had one nice kind of chat with Kenji and Daisuke.
Mm-hmm.
So Kenji is the guy from Reach Mahjong Central. He got Daniel. I really was fishing for an invite, so Daniel being more popular than me was like, "Don't worry, Gemma, I'll get us invites." I was like, "Thanks, Daniel." And he went off and got us an invite from Kenji. Kenji nicely gave him an invite. He gave it to me. And we had a really nice chat, and it was kind of nice. Like, sure, we've got like a little video conferencing software. That's cute, and then people can come in and listen on it. Mm. Why they would, I don't know. And then I kind of tried to use it the next few days, but it's really not obvious how to enter a room, right? And listen in, and what there's obviously they've not really no one's kind of developed the social cues on this either, right?
I have a lot of feelings about that.
So I kind of enter in a few more, and then like they're talking, and I'm like, okay, I'm listening to you, but why? And then and of course the only way this network can go is bad, because of course you're basically allowing a lot of people to kind of mingle and talk to each other, and at some point someone is going to come in and start spewing racist crap,
of course,
or they're going to start grooming people, and it's because they're not recorded messages like other things.
Yeah, it's like completely unmoderated, and well, I wouldn't doubt that they keep recordings of the audio that goes through the system somewhere, like deep in the legal requirements.
I'm not sure they're allowed to, because they're saying they're like Snapchat.
Because of recording consent, actually. Well, they could try to do something where they say, by using our service, you consent to being recorded across the board. But I don't know if you can do that everywhere. I did not
sign up to that. I double checked it. No, I don't think that would work in the EU at least.
It just seems like someone, again, it seems like the brainchild of some business dude who was like, well, everyone's doing Zoom meetings right now, so what if we made some kind of weird like peer-to-peer Zoom, and that'll be popular because business, and then we'll put ads in it later.
Yeah, and maybe it would work better if my friends were on it, because I got Daniel, I got Kenji, but not enough of my friends are on it for me to really keep clicking in and engaging with it, right?
Well, like, why wouldn't I just use Discord?
Exactly.
Like, why wouldn't I just be in a Discord chat?
So I guess it's for people who kind of want to have a a podcast, but are not invested enough in having a podcast.
It's like a dynamic podcast, which is kind of, I guess, interesting. It's kind of, but like, does it function well enough to be like a shared voice chat channel? Like, is it something I'd want to do where I'm like hanging out in Clubhouse with all my friends all day and we're just talking at each other? Like, is that how it would work?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because can't only one
would
person
love
be
to give you
speaking
more
at a
information.
time?
No, so you can invite speakers. If you are the owner of the room, you can invite people to come and be speakers. Why I'd want to do that, why I would want to let someone I don't know be a speaker, I have no idea.
Yeah, this all seems. It seems like, again, it's like someone looked at Twitch and was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we can do that with like a Zoom call." But I'd almost say a big part of the requirement of Twitch is that there's this firewall between the streamer and the audience, where the streamer gets to pick the things out of the audience that they want to engage with or that they think are good to bring up to the stream, and not just like give control of the stream to an audience member for some amount of time. You would never want to do that because they could do whatever they fucking want. Like,
And having been a Twitch streamer, it's much easier to talk to yourself with a visual image.
yeah,
Like, I'm not going to open a room up and just talk to myself on Clubhouse.
I mean, I could do that.
You know,
I could do that for hours,
I
but
could
like,
do
I don't
that,
know why
but,
anyone
yeah.
would listen to me. Like, why would anyone want to be sitting there listening to me rant with no feed? Like, how does your audience give you feedback? Is there a chat? Like, what do they do?
I didn't see a chat function. I think it's really only audio.
All right.
I've tried to use it. I've tried to engage, you know, and I just, at no point has it been as engaging as, for example, Discord.
Right.
You know, like Discord, and again, I don't understand why I'd want to use Clubhouse over Discord, because basically, you know, I can join a more public, you know, I've got several smallish groups, you know, like the UK Mahjong, other groups that I've kept to a small group. But, you know, there's lots of big I'm in the gerbil Discord, right? And people hop into that chat room, I know, and talk about gerbils, right? But then I'm like, so I've already got that feature in my life, which in a way that's better for me because it's got simultaneous text and voice chat. So you start texting with these people, you get to know them a bit, and then you jump into the voice chat, right, with them.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I've been chatting
Yeah,
to
it's
this
like, oh,
person
I know
for a
you
week or
guys.
so.
Let's hang out. Yeah, and it's like builds
let's
trust.
have a talk. Yeah, you know,
I
whereas
think they're trying to get at a mass market that's bigger than Discord, because Discord does have kind of a limitation because again, these are all very like business person things that don't link to like actual use. Whereas like Discord's a little hard. You got to make an account, you got to sign into different servers, and for many people that's just too complicated. They will never do it.
Yeah, but I'm genuinely like, I keep looking. I'm like, do I want to join that room, or is that room going to be talking about racist stuff or violent stuff? Like, it's difficult for me to know what's going on.
Yeah, but
Whereas Discord is fairly moderated. Like, there's lots of not safe for work servers, for example.
Sure.
And you know, like, there's no clear evidence to me of how I would report a room or a person who was being inappropriate or not flagging stuff as
because they don't care
right?
about that. They don't care about that until the first lawsuit happens.
Exactly.
Recky's
I'm
need
not
a
going to
sub
say
player
that
for the
people
next
shouldn't
slot.
talk. Well, I'm playing for next slot, so you could be a sub player, Dave.
Me? I unfortunately have to go and do things for my trip. That's why I'm not. Otherwise, I'd be in the tournament. I really wanted to play in the tournament, but this whole weekend's just trip prep and work. I'm really booked. I'm sorry, Recky. I really would, but I have so much I have to do. Because I'm gonna be gone for like a month and a half. I have to work remote the whole time. I have to like this. It's gonna be a little.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun, but it's also gonna be a lot of work. Oh, Pandafister is good.
Yeah, Pandafister is good. That's a good player. But yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, at no point is it's really encouraging me to engage. It's not really encouraging me to get to know people. It's too much, personally. Clubhouse. No. So I wouldn't recommend it yet. Maybe when more people are on it and people are using it, but at the moment
when
I'm like,
Facebook buys it for $1 billion, it's fine. And then well, I mean, what Twitter did that with Periscope, their like live video streaming service, because I thought people wanted to stream video live at each other, and then they shut it down because it turns out, meh. Like it's not. It wasn't as useful as. I mean, I guess to some degree you want to experiment with things, but to another degree it's like.
I mean, but Twitch was building off that kind of idea that, you know, I always used, when I was in university, I always used to sit in the living room with my mates watching one person play a game.
Right.
You know, talking about it. You know, I find it I really do quite enjoy watching, you know, Final Fantasy 14 streams, you know, especially, you know, primal battles and stuff like that. But I don't really care about what people do in their real life, you know, and it doesn't feel like relaxing, you know.
The problem is this stuff gets a lot of attention, but it's not actually good attention. As Troll of Nova actually says, yeah, like you get all these people doing weird shit. Like, I'm an anti-masker, so I'm going to film myself real time going into a store without a mask. And then when they're like, please put on a mask, I'm going to pretend that they're bullying me. And I'm going to make a big scene and everyone's going to watch. And it's going to be like, this is dumb, societally damaging stuff that people do. And so it's like, meh.
That's, yeah. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, and that was, I really feel that Clubhouse is ripe for that sort of exploitation, right? That it's just going to be
that
rooms
weird,
of, you know,
self-referential, self-reinforcing media black hole that people dig themselves into, which gets a lot of engagement, so it's worth a lot of money, but like, man.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be fanatics in there, you know, holding their chats which aren't recorded, you know, and then of course someone's going to end up recording it, which is inevitable, right? And then it's all just going to turn into a hellish hellhole that I'm not sure I want to be involved in.
Yeah.
But I am glad I got the invite. I do feel less like a loser.
I can't even get an invite. I'm just jealous. I can't even get in.
Well, no, you have to have an iPhone.
I know.
So
that's why I don't have an iPhone. I can't.
Yeah, but I was really, when I like, because you know when Gmail was first launched, I was one of the first users.
I was early.
And now I was like, why can't I get an invite? Am I a boomer? Has this happened?
I remember I was a cool guy who had invites to give out. I'd be like, oh, do you want to get on Gmail? Because you know, I can get you on Gmail.
Yeah.
That was my big.
And I presume that was their marketing strategy, but that works better for email. Didn't work so better for a social network where you need to have everyone's friends on it, right?
Well, it's because Gmail was just a fundamental improvement on email at the time. Like, so there was something I wanted about it that had no. Well, there were two things I got about it, right? First, I got the cachet of being able to give people my Gmail address and say, "Oh, I'm David, gmail.com. I'm on Gmail. You want to be on Gmail?" So there was a little bit of pride there. And second of all, it provided an improvement to me on the email service I had before, which it did. It was better. So and it didn't require other people to be on Gmail to be useful, because I could still use my email. You could email me. It was fine.
Yeah.
And so that made it a good way to do the social thing, because it wasn't like, do you want to get on Gmail? I'm there, and also no one else is there. Like, that's not a very appealing pitch. I think we need to revisit email. I think email is a great format that we need to revisit and figure out how to make it more useful or meaningful to people, because I think it's a great way to communicate.
Okay. Whatever Teams have done is the wrong way to go about it, because I hate Teams. I hate Teams with a fiery passion.
Which Teams? Google Teams?
Teams, Microsoft Teams. So,
I don't know about Microsoft.
So
I've never used Microsoft Teams.
So Outlook. Well, so when you use Outlook in there, what they've done is that, you know, you can edit documents within the email. So if you get an email attachment with a Word document, you can edit it there. It never actually even opens it into the Word program that I'm comfortable and familiar with. It edits it within Outlook. And I hate it.
That's weird.
I hate it. Exactly. It's exactly what I don't want. They've managed. I see what they were thinking. They were like, let's try and keep them within the environment of Teams. They're not calling it Outlook, right? They call it Teams, but Outlook's basically in there.
Well, everyone's working on these collaborative platforms for work and other things, and I feel like there's. I wish I had a better idea, but I just keep feeling, and using Slack and using all these things, I feel like there's this very fundamental lack of understanding of information flow that's happening with all these platforms that just makes them all very awkward. And this is a big topic, and I wish I had the idea for what's right, but I definitely feel like things are wrong.
I'm sure your classmates were trying to do
I'm sure they put in good work. Like, it's, you know, things like that are a huge combination of people working to deliver features, people designing, people conceptualizing. So, like,
yeah. And to be fair, when they designed these features, they designed them pre-pandemic, right?
That's also true. Yeah.
They didn't think that we then would be stuck just on our own at home, just typing, and all our conversation would be going through Teams. They were imagining this was the addition to your, you know, going, hi, can I talk to you in the office in a regular fashion, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, maybe the pandemic, if this is the kind of life we're going to have to be used to, that, you know, working from home will become more normal, then people are going to have to rethink this.
Microsoft's entirely securing things.
Skype is a piece of bullshit crap.
Oh, wait, Microsoft owns Skype. Hold on. Skype is kind of a piece of crap. I'm sorry, Skype, but you're kind of a piece of crap.
It is a piece of crap.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the way Slack works is not very good for a lot of different things. But anyway, I don't want to get too into it, because then I'll give away my business ideas. I got to run.
Preparing myself anyway. Yeah.
All right. So good luck in the tournament, Gemma. Please let me know how it goes.
Everyone, call your parents and tell them not to get scammed.
Tell your parents not to get scammed. This
is very important.
Those of you playing in the tournament, have a great time.
Also be a scam.
Yeah, I'm flying soon, so the next time you guys hear from me, I'll be upside down and backwards and on the other side of the world, but I should still be able to stream. We should still be able to stream, so we should be able to give you regular reports. I will prepare the Dave food update. As I go through food jail, I'm going to get different meals every day. I'm going to take pictures of the meals. We can go through the Dave food report. and maybe focus a little more on the Mahjong when we don't have huge
Can you
emotional
just take
upheavals
some
to deal with.
photos of the long corridors in the hall
I can do
in the
that.
hotels and
I can
stuff?
do that.
I love those.
I
I
can do
love
that.
those.
All right. So we're going to run to be on time and let
Thanks,
Gemma get to her
guys.
game. Thank you all for joining us again. We'll see you next week and be a bit more normal. But stay safe. Tell your
Bye.
parents not to get
Bye.
defrauded.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye for now. Thanks for joining us.